Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Chapter 1. Today we're going to be finishing Breeds. I'm glad you guys are all here. My name is Frank Perrine.
Cody Decker. And we're finishing the second half of Breeds after you get the hook.
Yes.
This is just so we can just talk about if you're interested in knowing how a good werewolf horror story is that you'll probably never get to see in a TV show.
No, I don't think you would ever be able to see this in a TV show.
Yeah, that's what sucks. Is I'm like, man, until that happens, it's kind of like, that's crazy that it doesn't enter cultural osmosis until you get to that level.
Yeah, and there's once we get into it, you'll totally understand. It'd be cool to see, but I don't think we'd ever see it.
Yeah, and there is a part 1. Hi, I'm the silent producer. Part 1 spoiler-free version that you can watch to see if it's something you'd be interested in. And if you haven't read it yet, you can check that out and come here once you have read read the book or seen part 1, or if you don't care to have it spoiled.
If you just want to know this story that you're like, I don't have time to go through all that, or you want to be able to tell people you read that book.
Yeah. Then you could hit key points and go, there I go, I read it.
I really like the wolf part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is what I do. I didn't read the book.
Yeah, I didn't read it either.
We watch other YouTube channels. They're like, so this video just came out. A book came out. Yeah, where we left off is Ross I would say the single flaw in this story. He lets all the dogs out, which is a great hook in the story because we know all these dogs have been infected. There's a plan for them. A full moon is approaching. But this guy sees them in the middle of a snowstorm in a cage in a barn, and he thinks they'd be better off if he just let them out, and they'll probably find their own way home.
Yes. Or they won't go too far because of the storm. Yeah. That's his idea.
Which it's like you see missing dog posters all the time in just a city where there's nothing. Yeah. There's not a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a very small town thing.
And to this point, you don't really know what exactly the dog's roles are, but you do know that they're being fed, dead wares or werewolves. They call them in the book.
But I like the little characterization you'll get where it's like Max.
Yes.
He's not full on making facial expressions, but as a dog, he's kind of being defiant. Other dogs are just kind of staring, and they're kind of starting to go, and you're like, what is exactly is happening to them?
And dude, I really like how it's almost two worlds.
Yeah.
Because they have the good guy, the bad guy, and then they have the same in the dog world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have Max and
Brutus, which the classic bad guy.
Oh yeah.
Name. But you get flash. Brutus's owner was an abusive.
Yeah, he was really abusive.
I guess he was like, I want Brutus will be. It's not weird that he named it Brutus because he wanted basically a vicious guard dog.
Right.
And that's when they get into the background of the dogs a little. Whereas Max was like, I went to go and it does convey it in a good way for the dog's understanding, which I like, which is I went to go pee. A man approached me, and now I'm in this cage being fed strange meat. And Brutus is, I was being held in a cage. I would have to eat rats if I wanted to eat food because I would get fed once a week. And then this man came and saved me. So it's the evil dog is grateful this has happened to him.
Right.
And the good dog is I just want to go back to my family.
And Max really doesn't partake like the other dogs do. So they kind of go into that where he's not eating all the stuff that he's being given. And so it's really cool, I think, how you're kind of in both worlds. Now we can go back to the idiot guy.
Yeah, the very strange man, Ross.
Yeah. You'll love Ross. The character Ross.
He's cool. I like him.
He's really cool.
But what he does.
Yeah, there's some, yeah. I don't know where, he just left a house that is just, dead bodies, giant wolves, and he goes
shotgun blast.
The guy tells him to wait. He's going to shoot a 300-pound dog.
It's missing its foot, and he's like,
yeah,
I need to put it out of its misery because I hit a rabbit once. And
Yep.
Yeah, he describes he went back, he reversed and ran it over again to put it out of its misery, which is that's nice.
Yeah.
But also they've killed your neighbor.
Yeah.
I'm on their side, but you shouldn't be.
Right. And there's the guy that's missing half of his face and his chest, and he says, hey, he's going to shoot the dog or the wolf, and he goes, wait. Just wait. And so he says, well, shit, I'll just go walk around. Yeah. Just take a break.
Didn't they offer him $500?
Yeah, he offered him $500.
He says, because he's like,
$500.
why should I let this animal starve? I'll pay you
Yeah.
500. It's like
Yeah.
this.
And just to put it in perspective, I mean, the guy's walking into the house and he sees a guy against the wall, half his chest missing, half his face missing. His friend sitting there, half of his face missing, claws and teeth and basically in his pool of his intestines. And there's a 500-pound wolf missing a foot that is all jacked up.
That dying half faceless
Yes.
guy goes, I'll give you 500. He goes, well, shoot.
Yeah, 500. 500.
That's nothing
Yeah.
to sneeze at. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that much.
$500, man, around here. I don't understand what it was.
Yeah, Newfoundland. That's
Yeah,
gotta-
Newfoundland.
I
maybe.
keep forgetting it takes place there too.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I like that it takes place. You know, it's not like it
Yeah.
takes place in New York or anything. It's a country you never see.
Yeah, and there's a lot of retirees there. There's not a lot of young people. A lot of the young people have already left.
Yeah, it's like a
the
dying
town.
town.
Yeah.
That's an
Yeah.
interesting part about it too.
And it's weird. It's almost on purpose. That I mean, the writer, in my opinion, does a lot of that stuff. When you look back at the end of the book, you're going, okay, I get it. You know, I get what this. Almost like each character group or different thing is its own entity,
Mm-hmm.
and it has a reason for it. It's great. It was good.
Yeah, so like he's like, well, if I can't shoot the dog, I'll take a
Yeah.
look around, and that's where he walks into the bar
Yeah.
and is like, I guess I should let them out.
Yeah, and he says, you know, I think they'll just stick around here or go back to the house. And we're talking about like 24 dogs here. We're not talking about like 2 or 3.
That like, oh, I know the owners.
Yeah.
And he's like, they'll find their way home.
Yeah. And at what part when you see the Shih Tzu, do you go, maybe he won't make it in the snow?
I don't think, there's a lot of dogs that aren't going to make it. There's pugs, there's,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, again, I think it's a great setup for like the story to happen, but how it happens
Right.
is
You had to have it happen for the rest of the story.
you could have said the door broke
But
during
you
a fight
could've.
or something.
You
That's-
could've.
That's Ross kickstarts the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after he lets the dogs out, and then he comes back to meet up with them, and they're like, "What'd you do
Yeah.
with the dog?" I let him out.
And he doesn't question too much how the guy's healing really quickly either.
Yeah. He also Kirk. This
Yeah.
is why I keep thinking Kirk Douglas, because his name is Kirk, but he tells him
Yes.
his name is Douglas.
Yes.
So he like has, and I like too that like he got stabbed with a silver knife, so like the wound will never heal. So
Yep.
it needs to be like cauterized, and he's just like, I'm a hemophiliac. They avoid
Yeah.
explaining that it's a werewolf.
Yeah, because they in that universe, if you get stabbed by silver, you can stop the bleeding by cauterizing the wound, but the wound will never heal properly. And it gets into more in depth in the second book on some of the wounds that yeah, but
There's
there's a reason.
There's a really cool scene in the
Yeah.
second book where a werewolf who's been lit on fire, and they describe like he can heal so fast from it, and you can hear the noise
Right.
of him healing
But he could heal faster because of
events.
so-
yes,
yeah,
You're
so
normally not supposed to be able to.
yeah, so we
recover
won't
from that.
yeah, we won't go there.
Yeah.
I mean, they talks about like werewolves with whole halves of their calves missing, and they have to wear jeans all the time because half of their leg is missing because so it's really interesting, and they kind of build on it in the first book.
Yeah. So like Kirk kind of like takes Ross under his wing and is like,
Correct.
You can take the shotgun. I'll hold on to the knife. He's like, what do you need the knife for? He's like, trust me, I'll be fine. You know, don't worry. Leave the dog alone. He'll be fine. That was the thing that I was, because like was it Morris? He's like the straw of this
Yes.
buddy cop situation.
Yes.
He's the tough big one. He's taken out of the fight. It's not unsatisfying because he did do a lot
Yeah.
of damage.
But I like that. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like some of the things you expected, he purposely didn't do
Mhm.
as a writer, and you're like, yeah, because I was expecting, dude, he's gonna kick ass. I was ready for him, and he kind of does, but I mean, not through the whole story.
That's the magic. Yeah, that's fun about the story is really their story ends like in that one
Right.
scene. That was all they were there to do. They
Right.
didn't know about the fall. So now like you're left with the werewolf warden who doesn't even want to ever transform into a werewolf.
Right.
And then who's not combat like savvy.
No.
And then he's teamed up with the youngest guy in that town who's 40. And they're like, we gotta go tell all the townspeople. We gotta go round up all them
Right.
dogs. And
But at first, he wants to take him to the cops.
Yeah, that's where the bribe comes in. He's like, I need to call the cops. I'll pay you $500 if you one day.
But they go into where all the dogs were, and all the dogs are let out, and he already knows kind of what has happened. He already knows. He smells the werewolves. He smells the fact that there was death there. So now it kind of changes the whole thing. He knows that he has to go basically find these dogs, and of course the dogs are, I wouldn't say long gone.
But I mean, you're not going to catch them right now. Yeah, they're like, we'll try, but right now we just need to warn everyone. And I like how they have to, the situation they're stuck in is like in Newfoundland, there's not even any wolves.
Right.
So they have to be like.
But they keep on bringing up the coyote half-breed.
Yeah, that's what they say. They're like, it was a coyote half-breed. And like some people will be like, a coyote half-breed.
Yeah.
And there's a character specifically who's like, so coyotes are doing, why don't you get out of here, you crazy guy?
And they're like, Jim, he remembers catching a coyote half-breed. And you're going, what?
Yeah, remember that? Yeah, like you have a shotgun for a coyote half-breed.
Yeah.
This is like
in a blizzard.
Yeah, again, like
yeah.
People
don't get me wrong. I'm not really clowning on the book. It's really good. There's just those parts. You could deal with it, right? And when you just look at it, it's kind of like, but it then speeds up rapidly after that.
There is a humor in like it's not like I wouldn't even call it a black comedy, but there is like an air of like humor constantly in it. And I think like part of Ross, like even having to say like it's a half breed, that's part of like that the comedy of it all.
Yeah. And then of course, you're picturing Shih Tzus.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets really interesting.
But yeah, the thing that made me really love this book was when you get more of the dog's perspective and you get like I haven't seen this done before. And it's such a fun aspect of the dogs are becoming, the harvest moon is coming. The dogs are becoming werewolves. But what they get out of that bargain is they get more intelligence.
Right. But the thing is they're still kind of dogs, and so they're learning. So like you'll have them change and they have no idea what's going on. And all of a sudden, I mean, here's a dog that, just wants to, lick himself. And all of a sudden he's growing arms. And it's interesting because they go into some of that transformation. And I mean, man, you could almost imagine it. And and he talks about in there what they're thinking. And it's just great.
The whole Max thing, I think that
Max is great.
When you see him cause he's trying to get to like every dog is going back to like its owner or like this vague concept of there's people. And also they've been like given this like cursed energy to them too.
Yes.
So they're kind of like slaves to like their hunger. Max specifically ate less, so he's able to fight it off. Consequence of that being he's also not as strong.
And the whole time Brutus is also looking at the survival of this breed. Hence the breeds. So they're going to house just trying to eat as many people as they can. And also he realizes that he has to breed.
They need to build up their pack.
They need to build up the pack. So when Max goes through his transformation, he's actually with his original owner. And he ends up making it to his house. And she lets him in. And then he starts changing. And as this is happening, also, they're breaking into the house.
Yeah, other dogs are breaking into, like there's like it was basically the moon hit the point where now every dog that was changed. Like, they're starting to change, and you get a really cool scene of Max start like stumbling and falling and sort of start like and starting to like, and it like appreciates it, like, oh now like because his owner like passes out in terror and he's able to like hold her, and it's like this it starts
she falls backwards and hits her head and blacks out and
he's like it is like I think they're in like Wolfman form, kind of like the Wolfman where they look more human,
right?
But they look like primordial, like in my head they look like cavemen type humans.
Yeah, they say I think so. I mean, but it's tough because the one part they're talking about how they're hairless, right? So is that their opinion of being hairless? Probably.
Because from the dog's perspective, they gain intelligence, they lose hair, but I think that also like every attribute increases outside. They still get more strength, they still get like more mobility.
Yep. And
now that they can think, and when you see Brutus, he's able to process even more how his owner treated him.
Yes.
and how much he hates his own. Like now he understands that, like hatred,
Right.
because at first it was just like that's what my owner did to me.
Yeah. And even Max, they explain how, and you just don't think of it, but explain how it took him forever just to figure out how to go down the stairs with legs and
It
feet.
does, yeah. It's there's no stability,
And
anymore.
I can almost picture that.
Yeah,
You know, it gets really interesting in that aspect because you have like two major stories going on at once.
yeah. And Ross and Kirk, they're going door to door.
Yep.
And this is where like the horror story aspect is each time you like go to a new house, you're given like a whole like moment with each like family.
Oh yeah.
Like every married couple, every like single person, you're given like
Yeah.
at least a couple of pages of just their lives, and you believe that these are real people.
Yeah.
And then they'll either get killed by werewolves immediately,
Right.
or they'll survive. And
Right.
it definitely helps the sense of like horror when you're like,
Right.
you now know that this couple, they tease each other about like where they left like their flashlights, and
Right.
and then
And the majority of them are like wild dogs, you
Yeah.
say.
yeah, I'm not yeah.
Because they're trying to actually warn people saying that there's wild dogs. So most of the people they're talking to are like, wild dogs.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. No, that's all right.
Yeah, as it goes on, they kind of like, we got to get to like the town center.
Right.
Yeah, that's the goal. Like everyone get here, and then we can all like fend them off. But some people are like, I don't care about
Yeah.
dogs. I think
And it's funny because the writer, the way he writes it, I felt like you didn't know if these people were going to be a main character and keep on going in
Mhm.
the book. And then he just kills them off. And you're like, dude, I like those people.
yeah, that's a thing this author pulls off better than most.
Yeah.
Which is every character is real, and you like they could easily either join it like Alvin,
Right.
like he becomes a main character.
Yeah.
But then that couple that you kind of like more, they just get their faces ripped off.
Yeah.
The gore is also not exactly like, they don't skimp out on that.
No.
They'll explain that like that one swipe ripped off that 80-year-old grandma's face.
Yeah.
And then you'll get like some pretty like harder things, you know, where like Brutus is attacking, and you see him like when he attacks that grandma, and is like it's like, I need a mate. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm not going to mate with her
yeah.
after her arms are dislocated.
Brutus
Right.
says no, but they do torture a grandma
They
as
do.
they like kind of process what to like how you even
Yeah.
go about killing something now that they like have all these new abilities.
And it's funny because of course it's cold and they're not dogs anymore. So the writer even goes into little things like how they're in a house and it's getting really, really cold. And he's on there with, you know, another dog, and they got a cover over them, and one of them's under the carpet. Yeah. Cause they don't have fur anymore. So it's interesting. I like those little things that he put in there. It's
Yeah.
just smart.
You want to just talk about Max's arc?
Yeah.
Because that really is the highlight of it.
Yeah.
And like it was like one of the most beautiful, like if it was a short story,
Yes.
I think it would be like one of the like insanely popular.
And I think you could do the whole thing just on Max.
yes, it should have been.
I mean, I mean, the character supports. I mean, I swear you could have, like you said, a short story just with the turmoils that he went through.
Mhm.
I mean, it was just pretty awesome. So Max, of course, loved his owner. Goes into the fact that he loves, you know, the owner's grandkids and, you know, and everything.
Like how the dog remembers it is like, yeah, like on Summer, her family
Yes.
comes in and like
Gives him big hugs.
he
and-
plays with the kids
Yep.
and he remembers playing.
Yeah.
And that is like, you're told that after, like, cause he transforms and now like another werewolf wants in.
Right.
And how that standoff of him, like, he's still figuring out his body. The other werewolf has more of a grip on it. And he just like, they also mention everyone gets thrown 20 feet. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
But everything is knocked 20 feet away.
That's true.
It's not like an issue. It's just an interesting detail where it'll be like, and then the werewolf swiped the bat 20 feet into the air.
Yeah.
And the werewolf got flung 20. Max is like, he fights it off, but he's also not a vicious dog.
No.
So the other dog is able to like almost kill him immediately.
And Max is just protecting his owner. I mean, Max is just protecting her because she's passed out.
yeah. And like the other werewolf knows there's someone
Yeah.
in there. I want to eat them.
And she just passed out because she saw this crazy naked man,
Yeah.
which was Max.
who's like suddenly started transforming in front of her eyes, like
Yeah.
after we're going missing for like a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
That's where you like, cause he's like lying in the ground and he's like, his face is like, I think they mentioned like,
He lost an eye.
yeah, his
Yep.
eye is gone.
Yep.
And it's like, he's like whimpering. And then like, you get what I see as like the
Right.
flashbacks of him, like,
Yes.
you know, playing in like, you know, flower
Yeah.
fields with the children.
Yeah.
And then like his
Oh, and then
narration where he goes
the
like,
funniest sentence. Ever.
yeah, that where he goes like, you know, like what was her name, like Florist or something?
Yes.
She will play with her grandkids again, and how he like crawls up and like
Yeah.
that gives him the will of where like you like he's one of the, like so heroic and
Yeah.
like it's so like heartfelt from the dog.
And he totally protects her until humans get there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when humans get there, he escapes. And-
Because he's like, I don't belong.
Right.
in the- which I was like, no, no, don't team up, please team up.
I know. It's weird because he knows that he's a dog. I mean, he's the only one that out of them that realizes that he's still a dog and what's happened to him just isn't natural. And yeah, and so he goes out basically to die like dogs do. Yeah. And it was that funny, that statement. He's like, you know, maybe I'll, you know, go and be able to lick my balls one last time.
Yeah, which it's funny, but like in the moment too, I'm like, yeah,
That's
I
what
hope
a
you
dog
do.
would
Yeah.
probably think.
It's not like I'm gonna like, you know,
Yeah.
what else does the dog want?
Yeah. No, it was really good. And then, I mean, might as well go the full arc.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
this is where I was like, wow, that was the most like creative, interesting character
Yeah.
I've encountered in a while, and he really just dies right away.
Yeah,
This is
so-
what the author is like.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good at writing like very compelling
Yeah.
characters, but this is the most I'm upset at dying. This is the only time
Yeah.
I've ever been like, if they adapt this and like we're gonna change him dying, I'm gonna be like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so the other werewolves, they're killing off all the breed. So they come across him, Max, and he's on this guardrail. Now the other ones are wolves. They're not like a werewolf. And they come up on him, and who was it that came up on him? Kirk comes up on him and he's gonna kill him, and he realizes that there's no just fighting the dog. I mean, Max is just like, hey, I've accepted him. I'm dying, dude.
And he just whimpers, and he's
Yeah.
like, he can recognize that look, and
Yeah.
Kirk is like, this poor dog has
Yeah.
no idea what's happened to it.
And then it's funny because then Kirk almost goes back into like, you know, the primordial wolf and just shows this, you know, this comforting, you know, gesture to him.
Yeah, he licks the tears off Max's like face, and Max just kind of smiles.
Yeah. Because
it's
he doesn't know he's smiling. It's just the muscles in his human face now.
Yeah.
But they go into how he smiles, and, you know, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then he rips out his throat.
Which
you're like,
what?
wow.
That was
Yeah.
you're like, okay, Kirk, yeah, you can take him in and heal
Yeah,
him, and like
yeah.
you guys can team up, and it's like, oh, a buddy cop with their pet
No,
sidekick.
no,
He's like,
no,
he's just like, I
rip
gotta
his throat out.
I gotta put him down.
Yeah.
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 Max needed a guy who could go like, wait,
But it was funny because I think you get out of the character that's what he wanted to die because he's not normal.
I don't belong. Yeah, it was like,
And
I don't belong in this
here.
world.
Yeah.
I did what I had to do
Yeah.
for like my owner,
Yeah.
but like I'm a monster.
Yeah.
And this is just a dog. It's the best arc in like this whole book.
Yeah. And there's so many good parts of the book, but yeah, that part, yeah, kind of crazy, you know,
Yeah.
especially when it's like, I'm thinking like something else going to happen. And he's lick his face and then like bring him into shelter.
The tears will heal him.
No, just ripped out his throat.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing where it's like in a TV show episode, that is the final at the episode at the end,
Yeah.
the music swells and then he goes "Rrr," and
Yeah.
then rips the throat out, and you're like,
Rips the throat out. Yeah. Because that's the only way that you can actually kill them.
so he's not doing it to be a bad guy. He's like, I want to like put it out of its misery. I
Right.
don't have time to
Right.
take care of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even think it. Yeah. You know, he's not being evil about it, but he does really just kill like what became almost immediately my favorite character.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think Max. Man, all of the characters are so good.
Alvin he's the standout.
I like
overall.
Alvin. I like Alvin.
Yeah, especially like you don't get to see him wrapped up until like the finale of the series, but it is absolutely worth it.
Yeah. It's good. And it's funny because if you like this book and you listen to it or read it, it just gets better. The next book, he throws out so many things in this book that totally correspond to the next book. So then you're sitting there going, wait a minute, I'm going to listen to that again because he said X, Y, and Z. And didn't he say that in the last book? So he really puts all these little Easter eggs in it that totally make sense in the second book.
Especially the prologue. Where
Yeah.
like everything Borland says in the prologue, you're kind of like, oh, it's like it is
yeah.
like good like gibberish and like character stuff on its own. But then when you finish the series, you're like,
Right.
oh, he was specifically talking about
Yeah.
this event, and this
Yeah.
is why he's bitter about it.
Yeah.
And then it all makes sense. After.
And it stands by itself. When you
Mhm.
read it, you're going, oh, okay, obviously, the elders are kind of crooked and there's something going on.
Mhm.
But it really gets crazy in the next book where eating wares is it actually benefits and also doesn't benefit the actual werewolf that does it.
Yeah. So that's Max's arc. After
Yep.
that, and what's interesting in hindsight is it does feel like it's mostly a side, like they finished the main quest first.
Yeah.
And the rest of the series is kind of the side issue.
Yes.
It's because it's mostly like we just have to find them.
Right.
But until then, like they can kill these people incredibly easily. The townsfolk have a hard time believing it's true. And you'll get like at least like 4 examples of this, of like a whole chapter where you get to know this old couple and you see them bicker, but then like they love each other and they play cards and
Then he rips their throat out.
and
No,
then
I'm just kidding.
And then a
I'm just-
werewolf will come in, and that is the magic of this entire series. Is you will get like, the husband, he let the wind blow to knock the cards over
Yeah.
because his wife was winning, because his wife always wins, and then just dead,
Yeah,
just a
dead.
neck swipe. What is it? One guy pulled a gun at like a shotgun as soon as he was ready,
Yeah.
and then the gun got knocked 20 feet in the air,
20 feet.
and then Brutus,
Yes.
just
Oh
takes
yeah,
his-
that's right. Oh my goodness.
he
yeah.
just takes his face off,
Yeah.
goes to the wife, kills them, and
Yeah.
Brutus is like, gather the meat. Yes, everyone,
Yeah.
and he's building, and I want to find my owner, and like he like,
Yeah.
I think that I would have liked more of that, just seeing like his version of like processing everything as he like goes to his owner's
Yeah.
house and is just like, I'm going to kill this man.
And it was tough because I don't think it's weird for a villain or for that character. It could have been longer for me to get more of his perspective
Mm-hmm.
because it kind of cut short.
Yeah, it's a short, easy read, and
Yeah.
it's very well written to the
Yeah.
point where I wanted more of Brutus, because
Yeah.
it feels like there's a gap, and now he's full villain mode,
Yeah.
which makes sense if like the thing is like
Yeah.
corrupting him. But like he had a very sympathetic plan at first, which was just to
Right.
avenge his life
Right.
and then protect his pack.
Right.
But now he's just like, I need to breed. I need to kill
Yeah.
everything. And like, he's kind of, he's become like the king of the werewolves. And
Right.
he quickly will kill any like challenger he has.
Yeah.
And he kind of has like a throne where he just watches his pack and they're like breeding and like eating. And
Yeah.
he's just like, we must grow stronger.
Yes. And it's crazy because when you're thinking about it, they make it sure that known. Every person that sees them, well, it's strange. There's a naked man in my yard.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's naked because they're dogs, so they don't really care. But
And
everyone's seeing these naked people in the middle of a blizzard.
definitely creepy imagery.
Yeah.
I think one of those, there's
Oh yeah,
this like the idea of just like you look out your window and you just see a man standing there
naked.
that's like,
Yeah.
that'll set off your brain and
Right.
like, we're about to be attacked.
Yeah, and what's funny is almost every one of them go like, "Yeah, what is this guy doing out in the snow?" I mean, that would freak me out.
Yeah. Like, yeah, they're like, hey man, you can't be out here. Don't you know there's a snowstorm? You're going to freeze.
Yeah, you're gonna freeze. But it's like, yeah, but I could see that in a movie.
Yeah. They're going to have like hair around
Yeah,
their garage.
but I could totally see that.
yeah, that
Where there's a few, because some of them
and
will,
smoke.
some of them will actually kind of like a pack. So some of them will kind of be just standing there, kind of getting your attention over here, and then
Oh, I forgot that's what they do.
yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
they-
almost like a pack. So here's the Shih Tzu standing over there, and it's a small like
And they're like,
dude.
what the hell
Yeah.
is that Shih Tzu? And then Brutus
Yeah.
just comes over and swipes him.
Yeah.
That's how the shotgun guy got taken
Yeah.
out, because he's staring at that naked man.
Yeah,
And it's like they're already using, that's like a real animal tactic, right?
Yeah.
They'll have
Yeah.
one stand there
yeah.
so the other can hit you from the side, which I don't like that. I don't
Yeah.
like that animals know about flanking.
Well, look at the raptors in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like them. I don't like those raptors.
Clever girl. Yeah. But it's you'll start, like I said, I've actually listened to the book multiple times because I mean, not that I missed anything,
It's just a fun.
It's
story.
just a fun read,
especially for Halloween.
son listened
It's
to.
I mean, it's my favorite. Like
Yeah.
comfy.
And you
know,
would never expect. I never expected. It's not even a werewolf. Were-person? A were-person.
a man wear
Man-wear.
or a wolf wear.
Well, sounds
Wolf-
like a jacket.
Yeah. Man wolf.
Man-wear.
Man wear. Well, we can launch that actually.
We can launch it. It's a reversible hood. It's furry one time, and you reverse it, and it's not.
That's not a bad idea. Now we're cooking with gas here. We can end this
Yeah.
actually, right?
Wereman.
Where man. So yeah, we get a lot of like short. The army is building up. Morris, you just get glimpses of him every now. Kind of just his story is just contemplating eating Borlin.
Yeah, and he they go into kind of how you know that it's really bad, and they've been warned not to do it. It's a taboo thing, but he has to do it because if he doesn't do it, then he's gonna die.
Yeah, they can regenerate, but you need meat to be able to do it.
Right.
Which I like the conservation of mass is a really rare thing to find in fantasy or sci-fi.
Yeah.
So it is like you need to eat that proportional amount
Correct.
for your body to replace it, which I just like that.
And they stuck with it too.
Yeah.
It's not like they just did it there to finish a plot line. I mean, it's through the whole thing, and even in the second book.
Yeah, it's like you can't
I mean,
heal.
you just can't do it unless you eat a ton of calories.
And they'll
to
go
offset
into it
it.
and show where they're
Yeah.
just like, we'll
Yeah.
buy every ham you can find at that
Yeah.
supermarket.
Yeah.
You got to get ready.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's kind of like, oh, I'm going lone wolf on this.
Yes.
He gives Ross every tool he had. He gives him the shotgun and the knife, and he's like, "What are you gonna do?" He's like, I'll be just fine." He's become a werewolf, and that's when you
Right.
see him where he stumbles upon Max because he's just like, "I need to kill everything because they're gonna spread."
Yeah. And it's you know, the end, like, big scene, you know, they managed to kill the majority of the wares except for Brutus.
Yeah, Brutus is the strongest, cleverest one,
Right.
and he's the boss.
Right. And even he is chasing after, you know, snowmobiles and things like that to try to make sure no one gets out. So he's gained that much intelligence where now he's like starting to plan things,
Yeah,
starting to look at it's a bigger picture than just this little town. So they build that up, and I think is great.
yeah. His plan becomes: we consume this
Yeah.
entire town, we'll gain the strength.
Right.
And then from there we can spread, which is sort of like you're like, oh, like well, what was Borland's plan with this pack?
Right.
Because it is like he can create, you know, basically a human level intelligence, and like
Right.
they weren't given any guidance, but it's like, what would have happened if they were?
And it's funny how the writer writes. You wonder to yourself, how did Borland know? Because it's almost like Borland knew.
Mm.
He
Yeah.
knew what was going to happen.
As soon as the moon hit, because he was like,
He
he said we're going to war.
Right. So he already knew. Was he going to run that pack?
So it's like, is it?
I mean, that would have been crazy.
So it's like, were things made worse by killing him? Because it's like, if he ran that pack, would he have set them loose on the town, or would he have like?
I don't think he would have set him loose on the town.
Me neither. That's what's interesting. As the villain, you're
Yeah.
like, I don't think what he was doing.
I think he
going
would
to
have
be
went
bad.
after the elders.
Yeah, he did kidnap and torture dogs, but it's like,
Yeah. But he
some-
did the same to they were sending marshals. Are they marshals?
wardens.
Wardens. They were sending wardens out to kill him. And so he would kill them first and then feed them to the dogs. So they were already out to get him. And he even says to them, you'll see.
Like, oh,
They'll
yeah,
come for you.
yeah. Like you're like me. That you're gonna
Yeah.
find out soon enough.
Yeah. So it's
Um,
interesting.
And like, I really like how the narration again mentions that he doesn't really go out with like a bang in that fight.
No.
He just succumbs to his wounds and kind of slumps over.
Yeah,
Just
but
like-
neither does Brutus.
Yeah,
It's like a genesis and an ending that are similar.
that's good. Yeah.
Because Brutus doesn't really go out with kind of goes out with a whimper. It's no big deal. And that was one of the parts that I had a problem with it because, you know, our main character found himself underneath a jungle gym, you know, those kind of domes, right? And it's been there for a long time, they state. And there's no more kids playing in it. So he goes in there to protect himself, and there's Brutus trying to get him. And
Which
and
no, just that's an example of how you can really tell this author like went to a playground and was
Yeah.
like, this would be a cool place for a last stand to happen.
But in the ways that he described these werewolves, dude, really? He couldn't even break it. He's just reaching in for him.
Yeah.
He's blowing down doors and throwing everything 20 feet.
Yeah.
He could have just, that little playground thing just, but it did end up
He
breaking.
specifically could have, yeah.
But it did end up breaking.
Yeah.
But he kind of goes out, but it's still good. And it's kind of even tough his emotional aspect, in the end, because he's kind of just realizing, hey, gave it a good shot.
Yeah. You tried. I mean,
I tried.
Yeah.
I wonder if he was worried about not breeding. Like
I know I am.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. I'm going out and I haven't bred.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't remind me. Alvin's scene is an example. It was definitely comedy.
It was.
But also I like how it's not. It's still. I mention it a lot, but he's not the brunt of the joke.
Yes.
Like the joke isn't, he's overweight and has trouble breathing. The joke is more that it's the Shih Tzu werewolves that are attacking him.
Yes.
He, by the way, they warned him about werewolves. I think because Ross is friends with him, so he was just full on.
Right.
There's werewolves. Like, just trust me.
Yeah. The second time they meet him.
Yeah. So Alvin has the overweight man who has a very sympathetic story, and
we talked about him in part 1.
Yeah. He has put on all of his play armor.
Amazon ninja stuff, and he's ready to battle it out.
He pulls out his bastard sword, ass fucker.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm gonna do this, and again, they do mention he trains, he knows how to fight, and he can hit hard.
Yeah.
But he has 20% of his lung capacity left. He's on rebreathers constantly.
He's on oxygen concentrator with a 20 to 60 foot tubing.
Wait, it's very all these things set up, and now he's being attacked by the Shih Tzu werewolves that look, they're
smaller,
they're like 3 feet tall, coming at him. He, by the way, I think he does nothing with that sword. I think
absolutely nothing.
No, I think he immediately freaks out, which is believable because he's like, oh, this is really, I don't know how to use a sword.
Yeah, and it's funny because he ends up retreating to his bedroom because these things are just freaking him out.
Yeah,
but he ends up being pretty smart, in a way. So he lets all the oxygen into the room and kind of lights it and ignites it as he jumps out the window.
Yeah, and that was a cool thing because it's like, here's his weaknesses. He uses these things to escape. His armor protects him just enough from the fire that he can get up.
Yeah, and
now he's on one oxygen tank in the middle of a snowstorm, and he's like, I got to keep going.
Yeah, and it goes on, so you don't forget about him. But you're thinking, okay, he's gone.
Yeah.
And then his ass shows up and you're like, yes.
Yeah, because a lot of the people that haven't died have gone to the town center.
Yeah.
And was that the one where because Ross is finally just like, look, I'm telling you guys it's like a terrorist attack. That was the second excuse. Because it would basically be like, it's werewolves. They'd be like, ew, it's a coyote hybrid. Like, what are you talking about?
Coyote
He's like,
hybrid.
then he goes like, no, it's a terrorist attack.
Yes.
And then
terrorist coyotes.
And then finally he's just like, it's okay, guys. It's werewolves. They use silver weapons. They regenerate. It's werewolves that are attacking. And the old folks pull out guns and stuff. And they're like, well, why didn't you tell us the first time? And then they're like, what? You thought we were a bunch of, and then they're like, let's do this.
Kind of like Lost Boys,
Yeah.
All of a sudden, shit, we've known there's been vampires here. Yeah, it was good.
And Alvin comes in and they're like.
Now, just to let you know though, Alvin had been bitten by one of the weremen.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the main characters know that either they're going to have to kill him. They have no idea.
Or Ross was bitten.
Ross.
Yeah.
Ross
in the final fight with Brutus, which is largely, it's Ross and Kirk attacking, and then Morris comes in at the last second and even though he's still missing a foot, he's able to overpower it.
And then Morris knows that he has to kill him.
Mm-hmm. That's the rule.
Yeah, that's the rule because they can't really leave anybody that knows. And so they end up biting him.
Because
over
our strain will overpower. Hopefully, they're like, we don't even. If it doesn't work, we will have to kill you later.
Yeah,
but it's like hopefully this will it might kill you also.
Yeah, and that's another thing about the character. The character just accepted shit.
Yeah,
he's like, all right,
well, do what you got to do, man.
All right, do it. Hopefully, I'm gonna be like you.
Yeah, which I would accept. I would.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really?
I,
Yeah.
I would.
I guess after that night, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did fight like a Shih Tzu, so
Yeah. I fought a bunch of naked people.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, it's so interesting how the climactic fight is what
Yeah.
you would assume Borland would be the final fight,
Yes.
but it's like that happened in like
Yeah.
chapter 1, like
Yeah.
that. I like that sort of like that had to have been a challenge as a
Yeah.
writer to.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, and especially the start is almost similar to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now, of course, we're telling you after, we've read it a couple times and we're, stuff like that. You'll love it. There's no way, I'm telling you, all the things, even though we told you, would be a surprise to you. The way it's done is just great.
I know that because it's like, especially going through the second book,
Yeah.
I keep going through the exact same
Yeah.
emotional things where I get to know this guy
Yep.
for like the entire book and then just
Yeah. Like I started listening to the second book, and I'm like, okay, so I'm bouncing back and forth. So then I'll go back to the first one and then it's the second one. It's just great. I mean, it would make a phenomenal movie too, I think. Some things would have to be left out, but other than that, I mean, it's just a great book.
there is you get, I guess, the end credits. You get, I don't know, you get like the ending episode kind of
Yeah.
where now it just cuts to Ross like answering a police report.
Yeah.
A very adventure note to end on, where like the police come and they're like, and it's like one of the officers he has a crush on.
Yeah, from the very beginning.
Yeah. And then they're talking, and it's like, so what happened? Like, what are those bite marks? And then they hear something clanging. He's like, oh, that's just my dog. And they're like, okay, so you're saying?
Yeah, he's like, I didn't let him out last night.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking all the wild dogs were let out, and it was this big old thing. So that's how they're justifying all the dogs that they find. All have their throats ripped out. All of them have their throats ripped out, and they're taken to the coroner so they can find out why their throats were ripped out. And
they're just like,
yeah, it's just pretty neat. It's pretty cool.
And, the cops are just like, all right,
Yeah,
got your report, and then like, they leave, and then Kirk and Morris just come out of like they were just hiding in like the guest room, and they're like, so, well, we had to make sure. All right, you didn't tell him anything, so.
And they totally break the rules because they allow him to stay in the city and now be that warden.
Yeah, like the city lost its warden,
right? And you find out how important it's not supposed to happen in the second book.
Yeah, you find out that like it.
Yeah, it's a big no-no.
Yeah, you
get to have someone appointed. There's a big old thing, but they liked him, and so and you get that between the two vampires. Both of them, I mean, two werewolves. Both of them have their own issues with being werewolves. I mean,
yeah, they don't mention who infected Kirk in the first book. No, it's definitely something that like if it's implied constantly.
Yeah. But it's like both of them have problems with it.
And they're like, you're going to see all your friends are going to die. Yep. You're going to have to move every couple of years. Like, this isn't going to be like a reward. This is just what let you live. And you're going to have to deal with these things for eternity until you die.
See, hence living forever is a good thing.
Well, I would still do it. I would do it. I'm not. I'll tell you on my deathbed, I will be like, man, I wish I could keep living.
I don't know.
No. I'm also surprised werewolf or vampires never came into the. I'm not complaining. It's just
no, you know what? I'm kind of
know.
glad they didn't, because most people, that's a first go-to, right?
And I don't even know why.
And what's weird is I don't know why either, because if you're going by the fact that they're monsters, so you're gonna throw in like Frankenstein too? Or are you going to throw in?
No, it's usually if there's werewolves, there are vampires and they hate each other.
Right.
I don't have a problem with it, but it is just like every time.
Which you would probably, as a vampire, you'd want lichen. Because they're going to fetch every stick that's going to go into your heart,
They can fetch the steak.
That keep that away from you.
Before, but
and think about it, why would you hate them? It's not, well, in certain other books, they talk about, which I get it, which is probably a known thing. And the fact that, they're apex predators hunting us. So, do lions hate cheetahs? Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. That's where you get into the things where you like really observe the prey predator dynamic and it just feels wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. And we talk about it, like like
Yeah.
when you watch nature documentaries and you see like the face a deer has when the teeth sink into its neck,
Yeah.
where it just goes
Yeah.
limp, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, was the purpose of this creature is to digest grass, so the creature that can't digest grass can
Right.
still eat. And it's just like, does it accept that in that moment? I don't like it.
Yeah. And think about if you're a kid gazelle.
Ugh.
Wait a minute, Mom. What are we here for? Wait, we're here for what?
Yeah, the lions eat. We eat grass, and the lions turn into grass at some point.
See that over there, honey? Yeah, that just let them grab your neck. Just go limp.
All those teeth will one day be yours.
Yes,
Well, I'm sorry, they'll be in you.
They'll be in you.
Yeah,
Just stay away from wild dogs.
yeah, or
They go-
coyote hybrids.
Yeah, they go from the ass out.
Yeah.
You ever seen Wild Dogs? It's brutal.
The movie?
No,
I was thinking of Wild Dogs.
Wild dogs will just like tear them up and they're
Oh,
eating the whole inside of the animal while the animal's still alive. At least lions like lock you out and choke you out. Before
that's
they
the
eat
the
you.
thing of like, yeah, there's definitely a place for them.
Yeah.
Where when you see an animal, like they go for the quickest kill possible.
Yeah.
When you see an animal that's just like it's like, does the lion have concern for life? Because there's animals that don't, right? The wild dogs will just rip out.
That would really be cool if they did, but mainly it's so they don't get her
Yeah,
by their prey.
it would be cool if they felt things.
Yeah.
They're just lions.
Like feeding a frozen rat to a
Yeah.
python.
The snake isn't like, I want to hug it to death.
Yeah,
So
no.
it'll know well before it
Yeah,
dies. It's
yeah.
just like, I don't want it scratching me.
Yeah.
So
Look at that. We even got a wildlife during breeds.
it ends on and the adventure continues note, because it's like,
Yes.
Ross, you're now the new warden. And
Yes.
they're like, and we're just gonna go now.
And I don't know about you, but I would probably, if you're going to get the book to read or listen to, get the second one. I mean, because I went right into the second one quick.
Yeah, I think really it's the first and second are kind of like
Yeah.
that's the story a
But
bit.
didn't you want to read it right after
Oh,
the
I
first
mean,
book? I was just like, dude, okay, I got to jump right into
I
the
mean,
second one.
they're audiobook is 8 hours. That's
Yeah.
a single shift at work.
Yeah.
I went through the entire series in 1 week because it
Yeah,
was
me
just
too.
like,
Me too.
the first book ends, I immediately buy it. On my
Yeah.
drive home, I'm listening to it. I get home, I'm listening to it. And it really does, all 4 books feel like one continuous story.
And he does so well with the characters. It's like, you kind of like know him in the second book.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of like, oh, cool. And then you're introduced to some new people and some new people that have history. And it's just, yeah, it's great.
I think that, the end credits chapter is just the phone call to the wardens.
Yes.
Who are kind of like, what did you do?
Yeah. Yeah. And then he tells the wardens that he ate, werewolf.
Yeah. And they're like, oh.
And it's just silence. They don't even respond to him.
It's just, like that foreboding, like,
Yeah. And then they
you
hang
ate
up.
were flesh?
Yeah. And then that's the last thing he heard. And then second book takes place, 6 months after? And he
Mhm.
still hasn't heard from them. And you're going, okay. Like, imagine if your boss said that to you. Oh, you did this? And then you didn't talk to him for a month, 6 months. You'd be like, okay, what the hell's
Is
going
that
to happen?
good? Do they like me?
Am I ready to go?
So yeah, that is the story of breeds.
That is breeds.
A lot of it is the individual stories of like these families either fighting off or being attacked by werewolves, which is
Yeah. And getting their throats ripped out.
their throats ripped out.
Yeah. But no, it's a good book. It's a good read.
Yeah,
Or listen.
it's when October hits now. That's like I put that on because I'm like, that's a campfire story.
And we have other werewolf ones that we're gonna.
Yeah,
review,
this
too.
is one of many werewolf stories that
Yeah.
I'm into, and I'm still discovering new ones. I don't just having it take place from a dog's perspective.
That was cool.
It was blowing my mind, and I was like thinking of all these things, and I'm just like, wow, he really just came up with that idea that's never been done before, and he's like, I'm done with it.
And the simplistic thinking too.
Yeah,
Of what you would think a dog would think.
it doesn't come across as like, oh, they're just anthropomorphized dogs now.
Yeah.
It like they kind of think in like images and memories.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Max isn't like, oh, I used to play with him. He's like remembering playing with the
Right.
kids and then having the concept of
Right.
she's going to play with him. I'm going to make sure she's alive
Right.
and play with her kids again.
And then it was just a reaction and action aspect in their mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, this is why I'm doing it. It's just like, oh, I get this. And I
Yeah.
get that.
Brutus of like, I
Yeah.
want revenge. I got revenge. I feel that. I need to protect my new pack that I
Right.
have. I've never had a pack.
Yeah.
I'm in charge. I need to feed them. I need to do this.
Yeah.
I'm being challenged by these, and I'm the apex here, not
Yeah.
them.
Just watch Up with the dog before you listen. Ball, squirrel.
That would be good. That would be good. We could get
Because that's kind of how it was.
it takes place
that's kinda how it
breeds in
was.
the year 3000 where they get like
Yeah.
every dog has a voice modulator
Yeah.
transponder.
And I could totally see this happening again.
That-
I mean, that's what was crazy.
that's
part about it.
the charm of it is
Yeah.
like at the end of it, it really was just like, yeah, we had an outbreak,
Yeah, like
and
yeah,
these people are sent in to deal with this issue.
yeah.
And you're like, oh, how many
Yeah.
times has this happened?
And you start to think about how much stuff is covered up, and then you
Mhm.
start thinking of, man, it's like a bigger thing.
Mm.
They don't allow them to, they go hunting, so they're allowed to hunt. So they'll go to different places, but they can only eat humans once a year
during the harvest moon.
during the
I think.
harvest moon.
Um,
But most of the time, you could only get deer or animals.
yeah, it's you go to a warden's territory, you ask their permission, and you're like, what are you gonna hunt? They're like, I want to hunt deer.
Right.
Okay, you can go hunt and feed. Once a year, you're it is kind of it's the purge for werewolves.
Yeah,
Because you can eat people. You're not supposed to, but you like as long as you don't get caught, kind of.
yeah, because
so,
it
like-
talks about there's some renegade young,
Yeah.
you know.
But once a year, you can kill anyone, and they'll basically the werewolf
Yeah.
organization will cover up anything you do.
Yeah, like I said, it's just there's so many different aspects of this book and different ways you can go. I think he did a great job. I highly recommend it to anybody.
This,
to
yeah,
listen to.
especially if you want to see like good character writing,
Yeah,
where everyone in the world feels like a real person and no
Yeah.
one is a background character.
no,
I think if you're like
even the Shih Tzus,
yeah, you got to see them.
even the Shih Tzus.
Even the Shih Tzus
Even
would be
the
the
Shih
ni- would be
Tzus.
the alternate title for this. All right. Well, I think.
All right.
Well, I don't know. Where do you rank this in werewolf stories?
I probably rank it. Let's go top 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably rank it either 2 or 3.
What ranks above it?
It's hard because if I bring it up, that whole
So would you just comfortably say it's like top 3?
yeah,
Yeah,
top 3,
I think that's
top 3, because I'm sure we're gonna do the other one.
Yeah, and I think the second one is more of the werewolf story I was expecting too.
Yeah,
Especially as far as there being a man wolf, which is like not really what happened. Like it's not the werewolves from Skyrim. It's more of like the wolf man from that old movie.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would easily top 2, I guess.
Yeah.
It really depends on like what I'm looking for at the time.
Yeah, and the reason I like the other one is the whole pyramids and everything like that. It takes a whole different.
Just like what it does with it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a movie, Deathless.
Deathless.
The Deathless collection?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that's I know 2 werewolf stories where they use guns, and I'm a sucker for it every time.
yeah,
There's a very cool scene where they like first transform and they're like rampage. I think it's told from like a UAV's perspective, like
Yeah.
looking at it, and you see the werewolf like running and shooting people. So check out Deathless, dude. Check out Blue
Yeah.
Curse. It's definitely a guilty pleasure of mine though, but it's not bad writing. It can get goofy though.
Yeah.
But as it goes on, it gets a little more.
but this one has I don't know. I guess it's a 4 out of 5 throats ripped out.
That's
me.
good. That's
I
good.
mean, it's good.
All right, yeah. I think that'll do it.
Okay.
Any final thoughts or?
No, it was great. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely, let us know what you think, and if there's any books and things like that, because we're just like rolling through stuff. I listen to books like a maniac. and I'm
No,
sure
yeah,
you
I
do
can
too.
see the books you're going through right now. I'm like, wow, just every minute
Yeah.
it just there's a rotation you're going through.
And I'll kind of bounce around, which I don't know. A lot of people might not understand, but I might be listening to one book and then, oh, you know what? I remember that in the other book. And I go back, but I listen to books over and over again for different reasons. I just want to get a different feel for it, what the writer's trying to do, different things like that.
Yeah, I kind of feel like meters in my head, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, I want like an in-depth character thing. I'm kind of good on that right now, but what I really want is some nice fantasy action. All right,
Yes.
now that meter's been filled.
Right.
But
The only bad thing about that is then I start.
melding this.
Yeah,
That's
almost-
why I try to not do it.
Yeah. Or I'm like a high school chick where I'm just like, I like that character better.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah. There is this weird feeling where I'm like, this character's not as good as the character from the other
Exactly.
book. And I'm like
Exactly.
mad at them. And
Exactly.
It's not fair at all.
I'm like, dude, that sucks. This guy could be doing this. And
Yeah.
you're like going, wait a minute. You know, it's a totally different book,
Yeah.
different writer.
But yeah, 4 out of 5.
Throats ripped out.
And do we have an outro?
I don't know. Do we?
Oh wait, that's the end of that chapter.
That's right.
Until we come up with it, we can.
Yeah, I'm the one that blew it. And that's the end of that chapter.
Okay.
All right. That's pretty good. Definitely felt more comfortable.
Yeah.
I caught the end of it and it felt like it was more banter.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think.